You know when you watch a really incredible pair of ballroom dancers, there's just this expectation of perfect, unspoken synchronization.
Oh, totally. It looks completely effortless, right? Like they share a single nervous system or something.
Right, because the illusion requires absolute trust. But then, imagine one of them suddenly forgets the steps, panics, and just tries to muscle the other person across the floor. Toes get crushed.
Yeah, the magic just instantly evaporates.
Exactly. And that crushed toe feeling is exactly what we are exploring in today's deep dive. We've gathered a stack of psychology and research and intimacy coaching notes for a very specific mission. We are unpacking the delicate mental headspace of intimacy dynamics. Specifically, what happens when a naturally non-dominant man attempts to lead a submissive partner. So, okay, let's unpack this because clashing energies create 5 very specific failure points, or Icks, for the partner.
Yeah, and we really need to be clear right up front to set an empathetic tone here. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's an analysis of why certain, well-intentioned behaviors completely shatter the required mental headspace for the submissive partner.
Right, it's about understanding the mechanics of vulnerability.
Exactly.
Because the failure actually begins the exact moment he tries to initiate using an energy that just isn't his. We see this fake assertive pivot, and that is immediately followed by an endless permission loop.
Oh yeah, that loop.
It's like watching someone wear a commanding costume that's 3 sizes too big, while simultaneously asking you to fill out a customer service progress report.
I mean, what's fascinating here is how fundamentally both of those behaviors ruin the vibe, and for entirely opposite reasons, really. The fake assertiveness, where he uses a sudden, commanding tone or like a firm grip, feels like he's acting out an unrehearsed scene from a movie. It's jarring.
It really is.
But then he swings to the other extreme with the permission loop. Is this okay? Do you like this? Should I keep going?
Wait, but I have to push back here for a second. If he completely stops asking for permission, isn't he risking crossing a boundary? I mean, how does he balance enthusiastic consent with not acting like a clipboard manager?
Well, consent is the absolute baseline, obviously. The issue is how it's being communicated. The submissive partner's goal is to turn her brain off and surrender control.
Right, to just let go.
Exactly. So when he verbally audits every single move, he forces her brain back on. He effectively makes her the project manager of the session.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
He can totally check in through nonverbal attunement. But the clinical, rapid-fire questioning just kills the suspension of disbelief.
So what does this all mean for his actual behavior? If he's terrified of crossing a boundary but also knows he shouldn't audit her, he just freezes.
Right, the freeze.
Which brings us to the third failure point, the waiting room energy. It's that dead air where he's just hovering, waiting for her to move or give an instruction.
Which, again, forces all the mental labor right back onto her. Precisely. That paralysis of analysis completely kills the momentum. And because he is hesitating and, second-guessing himself, that lack of fluidity causes the fourth ick. Clumsy transitions.
The clumsy transitions.
Yeah, that's when you get knock knees, caught hair, maybe bumping elbows in the dark.
Which honestly happens to everyone, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We're all human and bodies are just awkward sometimes.
They absolutely are. But the real ick isn't the physical clumsiness itself.
No.
No, the ick is the over-apologizing that follows. Instead of just confidently moving through it or sharing a warm laugh, he panics and makes it a massive issue.
Oh, so he makes it weird.
Yes, and that panic breaks the emotional suspension. It snaps her right out of her vulnerable state and back into a mundane, awkward reality.
And that jarring snap back to reality doesn't just ruin the moment, it permanently derails the pacing, leading directly to the final disaster at the conclusion of the experience. The finish line disconnect.
Oof, the finish line disconnect is rough.
It really is. He reaches his individual physical goal and immediately pivots to talking about the weather or like a funny YouTube video he saw. It leaves the partner feeling utterly dropped on the floor.
Yeah, and we really have to look at the psychological mechanism behind why he does that, because he was treating the dominant role like an exhausting performance. Achieving the end goal is like hearing a director yell, "Cut."
Ah, so he's finally off the clock.
Exactly. His brain drops the persona immediately just to relieve that psychological tension.
It was a solo sprint for him, not a shared experience. So how does he fix it without putting that exhausting costume back on? Because the psychological consensus points to a sweet spot. He absolutely does not need to become a capital D dominant boss. He simply needs to be an attentive guide.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, a guide pays attention to the terrain and the person they're with. They maintain that shared afterglow instead of just clocking out the moment the objective is reached.
Just abandoning them there.
Right. It's about carrying the connection all the way through.
So to wrap this up for you listening, in these deeply vulnerable dynamics, genuine presence always beats a fake persona. You don't need to bark orders, and you don't need to run a focus group. You just need to stay attuned.
Perfectly said.
Which leaves you with a thought to mull over. If being a successful guide in intimacy requires deep attentiveness rather than a commanding attitude, how might dropping the boss act redefine what taking charge looks like in other vulnerable areas of your life? Think about it. Maybe stepping off the stage and simply learning to guide the dance is the most powerful move you can make.